now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Looking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. It means we're brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Jacob Beck and Jordan Kitchens back there on the ones and twos. It's just a packed time of year, so goes without saying. We got a lot to talk about. NIT action in the PMAC tonight. We're talking about it. Spring football, we're talking about it. LSU, Louisiana Tech from the box, we're talking about it. Of course, Glenn West from Go 24/7 with us every Tuesday. He'll join us at the bottom of the hour. Sharie Ishack talking Saints and Pels. We'll do that at the bottom of hour number 2. So appreciate you hanging out with us here on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Let's rock and roll with some New Orleans Saints news. Saints come to terms on a free agent deal for Chase Young, former number 2 overall pick in the draft, former Washington football team, probably. Former Washington Commander, definitely. Former San Francisco 49er. Now New Orleans Saint. And I'll say this. I love it. I think it's an awesome move. Awesome. I haven't said really anything the Saints have done in the last year and a half has been awesome. This, to me, is awesome. It does not, to me, mean that the trajectory of the franchise is changing or that the Saints are 4 games better today than they were yesterday. But there is almost zero downside to this move. The Saints, we know, love to sprinkle money throughout the life of these contracts and convert to signing bonuses and roster bonuses and do all the gymnastics that it takes to field a team while kicking salaries down and down and down the line. This is none of that. This is good player, still in his physical prime. $13 million, no strings attached. If it works, awesome. We'll see you at the renegotiating table next year. If it doesn't, see you later. No skin off our back for the next season. So it just makes so much sense from a perspective of you're helping your team because the Saints were atrocious rushing the passer last year. I'll get to some of those numbers. And you're not hamstringing the future. There was a time where all the Saints really needed to be worried about was how do you put a little bit better team on the field next season? How do you get a little bit better? Yeah, you trade that 3rd-round pick to move up 4 spots in the 1st round. Yeah, you add another year or 2 onto that contract that may not pay off down the line, but you got this guy right now. We'll worry about that when it comes to time to pay for it. All those things made sense then. They don't make sense now. And this has none of those strings attached. Again, Chase Young may be done. He may flame out, have a sack and a half this year, cost you $13 million, and you have another mediocre season. That is certainly possible, but that is not the worst thing that ever happened. The worst thing is paying a bunch of guys who can't play to either ride the bench, play poorly, or not be on your team at all. And the Saints aren't doing any of that. So this is a great deal for the New Orleans Saints. It addresses a position of need and doesn't hamstring you in the future. I mentioned just a second ago that the Saints had a terrible pass rush. Well, let's just look at some of the numbers comparatively speaking with the rest of the league. Pulled these from Pro Football Reference. Sacks. The Saints were 29th in the NFL. That's awful. Awful. But sacks don't always tell the whole story because the Saints were trailing a lot last year. Teams may run the ball a little bit. You can certainly impact the game and make a huge play that doesn't show up on the stat sheet as a sack. Sure, you'd like to have a lot of sacks. That certainly helps. But just creating pressures and knockdowns and incompletions and those type of things with a pass rush is a big help. Well, how did the Saints do in terms of things like that? Well, their pressure percentage, again, I don't know how you calculate that, but somebody does. I'll read it to you. 28th in the NFL. Awful. Quarterback knockdowns, I can figure out that one. 27th in the NFL. You are in the bottom 5 in the league in getting home to the quarterback, getting close to the quarterback, hitting the quarterback in a passing league. You are not getting home. And I would even go further to suggest, I realize that sometimes you don't want to play with fire and send too many blitzes at Patrick Mahomes. You don't want to send too many blitzes at Josh Allen and let him get outside and make crazy plays outside the pocket. You don't want to telegraph your pressures to Joe Burrow. They didn't play any of those guys last year. You played a bunch of bums, relatively speaking, in NFL terms, that you should have been flying up the field after. And the statistics just didn't bear it out. By now, you know that Cam Jordan had 2 sacks. That's been very well publicized. And his best football is behind him. We know that. But you look at the other guys that you're asking to rush the passer. Nice job, Carl Granderson, 8.5 sacks. We will take that all day long. Hopefully this year it's closer to 12. That'd be great. But your second leading sack man was Demario Davis from the inside linebacker spot. That's a guy who, yes, can rush the passer and did rush the passer a little bit, but he is doing some other things in your defense. Next up, which is really good news, is Brian Brzee at 4.5 sacks from the interior defensive line. I think there's a chance that he becomes a really, really good player. But where are the other guys on the edges? Tano Passanio, 3.5 sacks. Cam Jordan, 2 sacks. It's just not very productive. Zach Bond had 2 sacks. You don't figure he's going to be on the team. Nathan Shepard, 3.5 sacks. It's not a group up front that created a lot of pressure. But if I can paint you a picture where Carl Granderson goes up from 8.5 sacks to 11 sacks, that's not asking something crazy. Where Cam Jordan, instead of 2 sacks, has 4, and then Chase Young has 8 or 9, and Brian Brzee in his second year goes from 4.5 to 7, all of a sudden I just threw 9 or 10 extra sacks at you there. 12 extra sacks. Those could be the difference in a game. And again, it's not all just about sacks. It's about creating pressures. And Chase Young, we know, was the defensive rookie of the year. As a rookie in Washington, had 7.5 sacks, 10 TFLs, very disruptive. Then was hurt the next couple of years, 9 games in 2021, only 2 games started, 3 games total in 2022. And then last year in his year 24 season, he played with 2 teams and came up with 7.5 sacks. So the 2 times he's played a full slate, you're talking about a guy who's good for 7.5 sacks. And he's only 25. I could stand to reason he could be better than he was last year. He could be better than he was when he was 21. I'm not guaranteeing it, but I'm telling you there's a possibility. Trying to reach and scrap for Cam Jordan to rediscover 10-sack form, to me, is ambitious or just foolish. But I think Chase Young, as a 25-year-old man who, whether he wants to talk about it or not, which he did not yesterday, is in a prove-it spot. When you're the defensive rookie of the year, whose team decides not to pick up your auction and then trades you, that's what they think. When you have a team that you played for, that you tallied 5 sacks for, 2.5 sacks for San Francisco, that doesn't make a genuine effort to re-sign you for what was a 1-year, $13 million deal, well, that tells you something. But again, to go back to the initial point that I'm making, like, this is not a risk. This is a no-risk play for the Saints. You signed Chase Young to the same thing you signed Carl Granderson to. I would suggest you have not mortgaged the franchise for Carl Granderson. And you certainly haven't for Chase Young. This was a significant position of need, and they have done a good job of addressing it. 1, with a young player, and 2, with a fairly cheap player. Because $13 million is not necessarily dirt cheap for 1 year, but $13 million over the life of a contract, which is in this case is 1 year, is cheap. So I think this is fantastic for the New Orleans Saints. Now, what does this mean about the rest of the offseason? I don't think it changes much. The Saints will have their plan of how they want to attack the first round of the NFL draft. And if 48 hours ago, a pass rusher was very much a possibility in round 1, I believe it still is. Because you can't count on much from Cam Jordan the rest of the way. You cannot count on much from Isaiah Foskey. It could happen. I'm not counting on it. And Chase Young's on a 1-year deal. So this problem repeats itself 11 months from now, where you're going to be very thin at defensive end. Now, you may work on a long-term deal with Chase Young. Isaiah Foskey may blossom, and you've got him for 3 more years. But those are all uncertainties to this point. If Dallas Turner, Jared Verse are there, and the Saints believe that's a guy that they need to target at that spot, I'm good with that. But I'm also good if they draft an offensive tackle or a wide receiver or Brock Bowers. You got options. I don't think this necessarily changes them. It makes your team better for next year. I don't think it changes your drafting thoughts. Because again, this is not a team that is 1 piece away. This is not a team that is 2 pieces away. This is a team that is flawed from a roster perspective, that has got to do everything it can to get younger and cheaper. And whoever you take with that first pick needs to be an absolute hit. But kudos to the Saints front office for making this decision, making this happen. I think this is a very, very good thing for New Orleans. I think Chase Young has good football left in him, and I think that you'll see a motivated and productive Chase Young. Now, how the rotation works with Cam Jordan, we know that Chase Young has not been the best run defender. Cam Jordan is a very strong run defender. We know that Cam Jordan does not rush the passer very well right now, and that's what Chase Young's skill set is. So the task is to get those guys out there and get the right blend to get the right production. You figure Granderson on the other end kind of got his spot to himself. We'll see what Foskey is. But overall, this is very, very good for New Orleans. Cheap, young, productive, position of need. I like all of it. Nothing to dislike about the signing of Chase Young for New Orleans. Always invite you to check out our Saints content at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. You can subscribe to the channel. All your Saints news will come right there to the homepage. We certainly appreciate that. That channel's grown a lot over the last year, so we appreciate y'all for locking in at Hunt on Saints over on YouTube. Tons to get to on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We are presented by Pluckers. When we come back, I'll get you ready for LSU and Louisiana Tech coming to you from the box tonight in a little midweek action before we welcome in the Florida Gators coming up this weekend. Don't go anywhere. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. Love telling you about David Duvall and his team. They've been in the business for 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms or closets. Just go to the website, One Bath and Closets. You'll see a gallery of their great work, both on the bathroom side and the closet side. The contact information is right there, and you can give David Duvall and his team a call. It's 225-460-2499. 225-460-2499. Let them come get that free consultation. They'll come in, they'll show you what they can do, whether it's a full-scale bathroom renovation or just a simple tub-to-shower conversion. Improve the aesthetic of your bathroom. Improve the functionality of your bathroom. And I promise you this, they'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Their motto is simple, easy, and complete. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them at OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $22,500 off the new 23 Ram 1500 SCA truck. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $22,500 off the new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
it's the details that make the difference between good enough and simply the best. At Skag Power Equipment, the difference is in designing lawnmowers with your convenience and comfort in mind. At Skag, we believe that quality and substance matter, and that you'll appreciate the attention to detail and craftsmanship we put into every single product. Thick steel and heavy-duty components provide you with unmatched reliability and performance. Skag, simply the best.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The best kept
Field is set for the 2024 NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament. Tune in for first-round coverage Thursday night at 6 and Friday night at 6. Then catch second-round coverage starting Saturday at noon and Sunday morning at 11, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Shout out Pluckers. I'll be there. 8:30 sports trivia tonight. Great night to get by Pluckers for sports trivia, but you got a lot going on campus. You got the Tigers and the NIT playing North Texas at 6 o'clock. Got LSU baseball tonight from the box. They'll be playing Louisiana Tech. Highly invite you to go out to either or both of those, and would suggest that you come over to Pluckers and grab something to eat as well and play some sports trivia. Just a loaded night there on campus. Of course, we tell you every Tuesday about the new Breggy Creole Crush, the Alex Bregman-themed sauce there at Pluckers. I have sampled it. It is fantastic. Little bit of heat, a lot of flavor. So check it out over there at Pluckers. They bring you our Tuesday shows each and every week. I want to talk a little bit about Louisiana Tech and LSU in baseball tonight. We'll talk about LSU and North Texas in the NIT. One with Glenn here coming up in 15 minutes, but also at the top of hour number 2 as well. Louisiana Tech, good baseball team. Very, very good. 16-5 on the season. They did welcome Xavier in for a midweek set that they split. I think Xavier's pretty good. They went to Southern Miss came to Pat Patterson Park through the Love Shack, and Southern Miss took 2 out of 3 in that series. Louisiana Tech and Northwestern State played over the weekend, and Tech swept them and really played well offensively in that series. 11-9, 7-5, and 15-5 were the finals there. So Tech will come down. They'll play at the box tonight at 6:30. They'll go down to Thibodeau and play Nichols before heading back up to Ruston to play Jacksonville State this weekend. A couple former Tigers on the roster there at Louisiana Tech. Will Safford, infielder from U-High here, is on the roster. Brody Drost, former Barb Buccaneer and LSU Tiger, on the roster as well. Neither one of those guys is starting every day, but they've played a little bit. We'll see if either one of them are in the lineup tonight. But really about LSU getting back on the horse tonight. I'd love to see a few things from LSU in this game. I'd love an errorless game. I'd always love that in the midweek, but you did have 2 errors in all 3 games. Jay Johnson talked about the defense yesterday and said he didn't think it was egregious. Helmers threw one away. You'd like to have a double play ball that you didn't get on a throwaway by Braswell. The outfielders failed to cut off a couple of balls that I think they're plays that they're going to make most of the time. Just unfortunate. I think maybe Brady Neal might have slipped with some precipitation out there in the outfield. It wasn't like some egregiously awful defensive effort. It just was a little shoddy, if we're being honest. So that I'd really like them to clean that up. Javen Coleman, strikes are going to be important for him. Got to throw some strikes tonight. Tech can hit, and I think Tech will score some runs tonight. But I'd like to see Javen Coleman throw some strikes. I'm curious who we see in the game from a bullpen perspective. I would think everybody's ready to roll. A lot of people a little bit cranky about the limited action that Gavin Guidry and Nate Ackenhausen and Fidel Ulloa got over the weekend. In a weekend where your pitching struggled so much, it feels like your best relievers didn't necessarily get a ton of go. I'm not sure why they didn't come into the game on Sunday. It would have seemed to be a reasonable spot early in that game when you were trying to stabilize things to get them out there, and they didn't. I would assume you'll see everybody in that perspective tonight, but just not long enough to tax them for what's a huge weekend here coming up from a pitching perspective. So I'd love to see some of that. And then you go to the offense, and to me it's kind of a question on lineup. Have we taken Paxton Kling down for a couple of weeks? Is that kind of the thinking? You looked on Saturday, he didn't play. And I was thinking, okay, this could either be a day off or it could be, hey, we're going to take an extended look at some other guys. And you saw Ashton Larson, who hit it really hard twice on Sunday, took a walk on Sunday, is a really good athlete, was a draft risk coming out of Overland Park, Kansas. Is that somebody you want to see again tonight against Louisiana Tech? Ethan Fry's not ready yet, so that's not something you're going to look at. But do you just throw Pearson out there, put Milam at second? Like, Kling is the one that is perplexing to me. Because, as I said yesterday, I was told preseason that Paxton Kling and Jared Jones would get a long leash. And so it makes sense to sit him 2 days over the weekend. And if you're trying to get Paxton Kling back in there and to get some confidence, I would suggest Louisiana Tech's midweek pitching is a better spot to gain confidence and get a couple of hits than going out there and facing Florida's weekend staff. So if Paxton Kling doesn't play tonight, it would stand to reason he may not play over the weekend. This may be an extended look at Ashton Larson. Now, I don't really care what Louisiana Tech's pitching does tonight because you're probably going to see 5 or 6 guys. So who they start is not really relevant. I can tell you that Florida's going to start Cade Fisher on Friday, and he's left-handed. So maybe Paxton Kling does play in that game because you don't want to send Larson out there left on left against an ace. So we won't know the answer for sure. My gut tells me that Paxton Kling plays tonight. That's what my gut tells me. Just to try to spark something. Because guys with that much talent, and I realize there are probably a lot of y'all out there going, you keep talking about Paxton Kling's talent and his tools and this and that, but we have a year and a half and there's not a ton of great production. Why should we continue to cling to that? Well, that was another awful pun. That happens all the time. It's shocking how
You're
often
not even
that happens.
trying.
No, not even trying. And it just goes right to it. But to get back to the point I'm trying to make, Kling, like, it's inarguable that he's got a ton of athleticism and bat speed and some ability that some other guys don't have. It's also inarguable that the production's been not great. But the guys who have that ability are going to always be given a little more leeway because you know what theoretically could be. And while Ashton Larson's got a lot of that as well, I don't think it's quite what Kling has. And I don't think that Jay is ready to, I use air quotes here because clearly not, but like give up and completely look in a different direction. We'll see. I'm curious, but we'll see how that goes. And then Tommy White. Tommy White got it going a little bit in Starkville. And I've been saying as he was kind of easing into things, like he's not that far from a 4 home run weekend. And you saw him hit the ball really hard over the weekend, saw him hit the ball the other way, and that has got to continue. He's got to be a force in the lineup, and we know that. And it wasn't as if he was just completely non-productive, okay? Like, going into the weekend against State, he's hitting .325 and got a couple homers and a double. It's not like there was no production. It was just not to the National Player of the Year discussion that you kind of expect from that guy after his first 2 years in college. When you set the national home run record as a freshman and you drive in 100 as a sophomore, the expectation is not, yeah, he's pretty good. The expectation is this guy is among the best 3 hitters in the country. And I don't think you could have argued that for the first 4 weeks. But you started to see a little bit. And I think seeing Louisiana Tech in the midweek, another opportunity for him to stay hot. And I would really like it if Kevin O'Sullivan had to dig up the box scores and look at the 3 games in Starkville and the 1 game against Louisiana Tech and feel some real trepidation about pitching to Tommy White. Now, he's probably got that anyway because the track record is what it is. But there's something to be said for a guy that's just white hot. Doesn't always matter. Last weekend, Dakota Jordan coming in was white hot, and he didn't hit a ton the first 2 days and went nuts the last day. Hunter Hines couldn't hit his way out of a wet paper sack, and he hit 3 home runs. So I understand that we're not always speaking in absolutes here, but I would like Tommy White to keep it rolling after last weekend. That's the guy that LSU's got to have in the middle of the order to make this thing go. He's the guy, more so than everybody else, that's got the ability to hang a 3 spot on the board with one swing. You've got that in Jones. You've got that in White. And right now, that's kind of your 2 guys you can count on for a lot of thunder. Travinsky can hit the ball out of the yard, we know. Mac Bingham's found a little bit of a power stroke, we know. Brady Neal had one big day at Rice where he hit a couple home runs. But for the most part, LSU is a middle-of-the-road SEC team in terms of their power right now, and Tommy White is very much not middle-of-the-road when it comes to power. So I would love it if he went out there and swung the bat with some significant authority here and maybe had a double and a homer going into the Florida weekend where LSU's going to need him against the talented pitching staff to hang some crooked numbers. Like they're gonna have to do that this weekend against Florida because Florida can hit and they hadn't pitched it great yet. Let's see if Tommy White can do that. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for LSU and Louisiana Tech tonight. Game is at 6:30 over at the box. You want to listen to it? Not on Eagle 98.1 as usual. 100.7 The Tiger will have you covered for this one. The basketball game will be on Eagle 98.1. So just be aware if you're looking to listen on the radio. Hoops on Eagle 98.1. Baseball over on 100.7 The Tiger here in Baton Rouge. Check the LSU Sports Radio Network affiliate in your area for more information. LSU and Louisiana Tech tonight at 6:30. Be LSU in North Texas tonight at 6 o'clock in the PMAC. I'll get you ready for that one coming up at the top of hour number 2. We'll talk a little bit about that, a little bit about LSU and Mississippi State over the weekend, a little spring football with our guy Glenn West of Go 24/7 when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, video, security solutions, avssla.com. I was looking at their Instagram earlier today. That's at AVSS_BR on Instagram. Got great photos, videos they've put together of some of the great work they've done in the Baton Rouge area. I tell you all the time, like I am technologically inept. I don't know how to work anything electronic in the house, and they've made things so easy for us at the Palmer House. I've got a remote that's got a little bit of a touch screen on it. It's got all my apps listed right there. If I want to watch ESPN Plus, I touch ESPN Plus. If I want to turn on Disney Plus for the Myers Man so we can watch Bluey, I can do that as well. And when the wife and I are cooking, we have the music playing through our app on our phone that plays in the speakers that are up in the ceiling, and it is awesome that they have done that for us over at the Palmer House. You want it done for you? You can do it with folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out online, avssla.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Bayou Ford has $7,500 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. $7,500 off plus 1.9% financing for 72 months. And all new Bayou.
For Wednesday's OTB, we'll recap LSU baseball versus Louisiana Tech at the box. How did LSU men's basketball do in the NIT tournament versus UNT? And Matt Flynn will join us for an hour of flustering. Join us from 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Moving right along, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Just tons going on in the world of LSU athletics. Glenn West, they're covering it all for the folks that go 24/7. He joins us every Tuesday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how are you? Do we have him? Glenn, you there?
I'm here.
There
he
is. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, Hunt. How are you?
I'm doing good. You probably got a lot of balls in the air here at this point, trying to figure out where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be writing about. It's that time of year where basketball, baseball, and football all intertwine. I guess let's start with men's basketball as they'll play in the NIT tonight against North Texas. How important is the NIT to this LSU basketball team, this LSU basketball program, Matt McMahon?
Yeah, I think it's very important just for the progression of the program and where kind of LSU is, going into this tournament. This is a team that, even back in February of this year, it looked like postseason basketball was going to be a far stretch for them to accomplish. But I think they were 4-7 at that time, back on Valentine's Day, is what McMahon told us yesterday, and just the vibes were not all that great. And you fast forward to a couple months or a month later, and here they are, and they're playing games after the season's over, and then that's a real sign of progress, I think, for this team to kind of be able to flip that switch and go 5-2 to finish the regular season, to get some of these young guys going in particular. The guys like Jalen Reed and Tyrell Ward, Mike Williams, players who you hope are going to be a part of this thing next year, to kind of continue to build that momentum. And also sending off the seniors the right way as well. So it's good. It's something that LSU wanted for the last several weeks. Every time we talk with McMahon, they talked about this being kind of a goal and how they get there. But certainly now that they're here, you'd like to see them advance a little bit and kind of make this a little bit of a fun tournament for LSU.
Have you talked to any of the players about their thoughts on the NIT?
Yeah, we haven't talked to players specifically. We talked with McMahon yesterday, and I actually asked him the question, just kind of the 9 guys that they've been throwing out there the last several weeks of the season. Do they expect all of them to play? And he said, yeah, not only do they expect them all to play, but they're all excited about the opportunity to continue the season. For these older vets, he mentioned the fact that it's just another opportunity to put some film out there for their professional prospects, whatever they may be. And then for the younger guys, the players like Ward and Williams and Reed in particular, it's just it's another opportunity here to get some postseason basketball feel and hopefully that could be something that they turn into the off season and kind of have a little bit of a taste of what it's like. It's not the big dance, it's not where they ultimately want to be as a program, but getting those guys that exposure and that experience, I think, is something that all those players seem to be pretty excited about.
What do you know about North Texas?
Yeah, I mean, they played them back in November, and it was a pretty, tightly contested game in a neutral site. They played in one of those tournaments. I believe it was in Charleston or when they played early last year. And very physical team. LSU actually just narrowly escaped with a 4-point win. But I know we've been saying this a lot about the last couple teams LSU's played, and that they're very physical, but that holds true. I think they had something like 14 or 15 offensive rebounds in that game back in November. But these are two very different teams now. I mean, LSU has really turned it on from three throughout the entirety of SEC play. Trey Hannibal only played in, I think, 12 minutes in that first matchup a couple months ago. So obviously he's a huge part of what they're doing right now. And so I do think that there's some things LSU is going to be able to expose. I mean, Will Baker, their size, I think, should be able to help them in this game as well. But yeah, I think, if you're able to kind of limit the turnovers, this is a team in North Texas that turns a lot of people over, and is able to get out in transition. So if LSU is able to kind of limit those transition opportunities, control the paint, like they did in the first matchup, then I think they should be favored to win and advance into this tournament a little bit.
They're trying to get people out to the PMAC tonight. Got some giveaways and some promotions they're going to do. Do you think they'll have a decent crowd?
I hope so. I mean, look, I think the way this team played down the stretch, they're deserving of one last hurrah in the PMAC. I'm not sure exactly what the crowd is going to be like. I talked to a few people yesterday. I don't think they really know exactly what it's going to be. So you hope that some of these fans turn out. I think the tickets are only like $20, and it's kind of a first come, first served deal where you can sit really anywhere in the PMAC. So that could be a really cool opportunity. But and then the first 1,500 students, I think, get in for free. And so now that school's back in session, I think they're hoping for a big student turnout. But yeah, we'll see. But don't really know what to expect in terms of numbers.
Glenn West, our guest, senior writer over Go 24/7, writing all things Tigers, football, basketball, and baseball. Speaking of baseball, let's transition there. What happened to the pitching over the weekend?
Man, I wish I could tell you. I think they really just kind of met a Mississippi State team that was not in a desperate place, but they were in a place where they needed to kind of get back on track as a program this past weekend, and they really played lights out. I mean, I think you got to give some credit to them. I mean, their 1 through 5 really seemed to be just lighting up the pitching staff. I mean, Dakota Jordan is somebody that just watching him play those 3 days, if he keeps that kind of energy and consistency up, I mean, that could be an SEC Player of the Year kind of candidate, and if they kind of exceed expectations. And look, I think it was a number of different things. I think the pitching staff really just kind of, they went hunting for the fastball early in counts, and they were able to have some success, against Gage Jump and a little bit against Luke Holman. I do think that Holman's outing was a little bit kind of squandered by some defensive mistakes on Friday, and Sunday was just a complete, kind of dominating performance, one that you just kind of want to hope to flush and hope that it's an aberration. I mean, I think the one thing we've learned about this staff the first 5 weeks is that they've been, very consistent. And I do think that this last weekend, you hope you can just kind of knock it up to being an aberration, and that they can get back on track this weekend against Florida.
Were you surprised Nate Ackenhausen and Gavin Guidry weren't used on Sunday?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they didn't pitch much, and I don't think Guidry pitched much in that Friday game. And I don't believe Ackenhausen pitched a whole ton of pitches in the Saturday game. But look, I think when it got to a point there where it was 10-5, 11-5, you did kind of wonder maybe if they just wouldn't, throw some of their guys that were kind of towards the end of the bullpen. The fact that they kind of went with that Helmers Bronzini on Sunday to kind of help try to get Thatcher out of a jam, I thought maybe that was a little bit surprising. That was probably the only one that kind of comes to mind throughout the weekend in terms of surprising kind of entries. But again, those were also two guys that had been very consistent in their limited opportunities. So I do think that this is what it really tells me is that Jay and the coaching staff are just toying with a lot of different possibilities just to see who maybe they can count on, later down the stretch. And, these early season opportunities, early conference games are a great time to do that, to kind of see who you can maybe lean on, down the stretch.
Paxton Kling, somebody that I've talked about the last 2 days because he did not play on Saturday nor Sunday. He was sitting about 220, and they've given Afton Larson a bit of a look here. Ethan Fry got a look before he got hurt. What do you think the future is maybe tonight and this weekend for Paxton Kling?
I would guess he plays tonight. He's just in a really bad funk at the plate. I mean, I just don't know how else to say it. He's just really, I think, in his head right now, and just, I think they've got to go back to the drawing board with him, try to figure out an approach that he can kind of stick with and can have some more success with, because I do think defensively he's your best outfielder. I think there's no question about that. And when you get him on base, he can be a really big threat in terms of just steals and scoring from second, from third, from first. He's a really great athlete. They got to figure out ways to get him on base, and he's been striking out a ton. He hasn't been making really consistent contact with the ball, and I think you have to trot him out tonight. Try to maybe see if he can't get something going here in this midweek game, and because I do think that he's one of those players. If you listen to Jay, they'll go as far as players like Paxton can take them, and I think they're really banking on him making that second year jump, and it's been a little bit of a struggle for him so far. So they got to keep working with him and hope he can find it.
What does your gut tell you about this weekend as Florida comes to town for a national championship rematch?
Yeah, they're tough. I mean, I think they're a lot better than their record. I think Caglione is a guy that has really, really improved on the mound, and certainly as a hitter too, batting over 400 and some 8-9 RBI or 8-9 home runs. Ty Evans was a big breakout sensation last year in Omaha, and he's really continued that going into this series or going into this season as well. And so I think their pitching has been a little bit up and down. I think that they might have an opportunity there outside of Caglione to kind of get to this Florida pitching, get deeper into the bullpen. But I'm still doing some research on Florida. I think you have to protect home field if you're LSU, and I know that's the goal, to kind of get back to 500 and see if you can't win 2 out of 3 this weekend.
Spring break last week, football team back out there this week. Anything you'll be looking for coming up on Thursday?
Nothing in particular. I mean, we're still in that individual drill phase on Wednesday, but Saturday is really the big day. I think for us as media, we'll get a full practice on Saturday and get a chance to really, I think, get a deeper look into at this team. But as far as Thursday goes, I think it'll be a lot more of a chill day. We'll get to talk to some players on Wednesday, and that'll be good too. So, lots to come between football, basketball, and baseball here over the next several days.
We'll let you get back to it, Glenn. Thanks so much, man.
All right, Hunt. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Glenn West, senior writer over at Go 24/7 for all your football, basketball, baseball, and recruiting needs. They got you covered over there at Go 24/7. Glenn's with us each and every Tuesday. Tuesday shows brought to you by Pluckers. We'll close it out with some LSU football in hour number 1. North Texas preview coming up in 15 minutes as we got NIT action from the PMAC tonight. Don't go anywhere. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It's the details that make the difference between good enough and simply the best. At Skag Power Equipment, the difference is in designing lawnmowers with your convenience and comfort in mind. At Skag, we believe that quality and substance matter, and that you'll appreciate the attention to detail and craftsmanship we put into every single product. Thick steel and heavy-duty components provide you with unmatched reliability and performance. Skag, simply the best.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
March Madness is here. We're live at the Beau Rivage Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. Live at lunch from the Beau Rivage for March Madness right here, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Register and make your picks now for the $1 million bracket challenge powered by Acura of Baton Rouge and Coors Light at 1045ESPN.com. First place wins $2,024 cash, and if your bracket is perfect, you will win $1 million in a 3-year lease on a 2024 Acura RDX. It's the $1 million bracket challenge powered by Acura of Baton Rouge and Coors Light.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Closing up things here in hour number 1 on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. I invite you to come out to Pluckers, see us tonight for sports trivia at 8:30. You know, I was thinking about spring football, and I don't have any earth-shattering takes today on March 19th when they haven't let us into practice for 2 weeks because they had spring break, and we won't see them again until Thursday. But I was thinking about just some storylines, and man, on the offense, like, I pretty much know who the starting offensive line is. I know who the starting quarterback is. I know who the running backs are and feel comfortable saying that Josh Williams and Caleb Jackson will share the lion's share of the carries, and then whatever Caden Durham gets is what he gets. But
unless they get another transfer.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that's where things are going to be. The tight end room is deep, but Mason Taylor's going to get most of that action with Markway and then Pimpton and Trey'Dez Green, but it's mainly Mason Taylor. Like, they don't have a lot of numbers on the defensive line, so I kind of know right now what the story is there. At linebacker, it's Weeks and Perkins and Penn, and like that's kind of where you're headed there. And then at corner, you've got a ton of guys, so that's one that's a little up in the air. And then at safety, it's Major Burns, and then kind of we'll see what they decide to do outside of it. I think the most interesting position on the team is wide receiver. Not the most explosive or dynamic position on the team, not the most proven on the team, maybe not the most exciting on the team, but interesting. Because you could paint me a picture where C.J. Daniels, Xavier Thomas, and Kyron Lacey are your top three. Like, you could paint me that picture. Whatever order. Do you think that Kyron Lacey is able to go to the front of the line and be a number one? Is C.J. Daniels transition from Liberty to the SEC? Can he do that and be number one? Xavier Thomas in a offense that's not in a massive transition like Mississippi State's was last year. He's way more productive and he's number one. What is Aaron Anderson? I don't know. I was dead wrong on him last year because I went to practice and I watched him run some routes and intermediate stuff and thought this guy's going to be really good. And he was a non-factor. Didn't look that explosive in the kick return game. Wasn't asked to do very much from a wide receiver perspective. Just not much there. What is Shelton Sampson? We want to talk about the fact that he looks like Terrace Marshall. Is he that productive? Didn't get a chance last year. Obviously, it was tough to get to the field. Got his chance against Grambling, had a couple of blocks, and we didn't see him again. Talent looks great. What is he? I don't know. Kyle Parker, you see videos of him on Instagram. He's cut up and runs great routes, but I don't think there's a lot of expectation on him at this point. What if I told you that the 1, 2, 3 was C.J. Daniels, Kyron Lacey, and Shelton Sampson? That wouldn't be totally shocking. There are a lot of variations that this room could morph into. And again, I'm comfortable with what the offensive line is going to be, especially from a pass protection perspective. I'm comfortable with Garrett Nussmeier. I'm not saying he's the first team all-league quarterback, but I think he's going to be good. I know tight end's good. Wide receiver is the biggest. I don't know. There's probably a chalk here that would say, in some order, Daniels, Lacey, and Thomas are the guys. Anderson doesn't do a ton. Sampson plays in some mop-up duty and maybe is a little more impactful in October, November than in September. And Parker doesn't play a ton. Like, that's probably your chalk. That's probably the easiest way to go about it. But I'm not ready to dismiss the two freshmen. And I'm not ready to hand the keys to the offense to Kyron Lacey either. It's not something we'll definitely know going out to a practice on Thursday, a full practice on Saturday, go into the spring game inside Tiger Stadium. You don't really know until they put in a game plan and go out there and play. But it's fascinating to me. And I think it'll be a big talking point throughout this spring. I think it'll be a talking point when we get to SEC Media Days in July. And I certainly think in August, we can run round and round. Last year, if you went to practice, like you saw Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas just go into work almost every single day. And knowing what we know now, that makes a lot of sense. The Heisman Trophy winner was throwing it to him, and a secondary that didn't cover anybody for 4 months was trying to cover him. It makes a lot of sense that they were making a lot of plays. We'll see when we get out there in the fall if this is remaining. It's hard for me to call that the fall. It's August and it's like 102 out there. It's very much the summer. But that to me, as I just kind of start to think about storylines, because that's all we're really talking about right here. We're not doing any record projections, picking games week to week. We're not grinding other teams. All this time of year is just kind of discussing what LSU football could be and where we have our concerns and our confidence. I wouldn't say that wide receiver for me right now is a concern or confidence. I would say it's just kind of a question mark with a lot of variables, and I'm ready to see it play out. I don't question the ability. I question the production in college because that's not really been there outside of Daniels. A little bit of Thomas too, but I'm excited to see how that position group shakes out. And Cortez Hankton, Joe Sloan, and company have a lot of time to get that done. So just a little thumbnail on LSU's wide receiver play here as we close out hour number 1 on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. We opened talking about Chase Young signing with the New Orleans Saints. Got you ready for LSU and Louisiana Tech in the midweek, and Glenn West to go 24/7. Stop by as he always does. We'll pause for Sports Center. The NIT on campus tonight. North Texas Mean Green. What do I know about them? I'll let you know on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has $7,500 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. $7,500 off plus 1.9% financing for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps. Your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $22,500 off the new 23 Ram 1500 SCA truck. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $22,500 off the new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It's the details that make the difference between good enough and simply the best. At Skag Power Equipment, the difference is in designing lawnmowers with your convenience and comfort in mind. At Skag, we believe that quality and substance matter, and that you'll appreciate the attention to detail and craftsmanship we put into every single product. Thick steel and heavy-duty components provide you with unmatched reliability and performance. Skag, simply the best.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Florida State has some company in its legal fight against the ACC. Clemson filed a lawsuit today against the conference over the league's media rights deal. Like FSU, Tigers seek to nullify the $140 million penalty the ACC says it would owe if it left the league. The Giants beat out the likes of the Yankees, Astros, and Angels for free agent left-hander Blake Snell. The reigning NL Cy Young Award winner agreed to a 2-year, $62 million contract with San Francisco. Combined with all the other moves the Giants made this offseason, the Snell addition makes them a playoff team, predicts ESPN MLB analyst Jessica Mendoza.
He not only brings the Cy Young caliber pitcher with his filthy lefty stuff, but he also adds to Logan Webb. These were the top 2 pitchers in the National League last year. By the way, the Giants also signed Matt Chapman, Jung-Hoo Lee out of Korea. This team got a whole lot better in the offseason.
ESPN Bet lists the Giants at plus 135 to make the playoffs. NBA Cavaliers star Donovan Mitchell sidelined at least 1 week after undergoing a procedure on a nasal fracture. He was injured on Saturday night, will be reevaluated in about a week.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming on Wednesday with all the shuffling we've seen at quarterback. I'll tell you which teams are headed for QB competitions. It's unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Sharie Ishack at the bottom of the hour talking Saints, in addition of Chase Young, as well as the Pels. We'll get to that in 30 minutes. But LSU and North Texas will play in the NIT tonight. 6 o'clock tip in the PMAC for LSU and the Mean Green. I'll say this. I've heard a lot of people suggest how important it is for the program to get into the postseason, how it's a great step in the right direction. And I've been very consistent on my thoughts on LSU playing in the NIT. Here's what the NIT means. It is a reward for this group of LSU Tigers to continue playing. They are being rewarded for winning 9 league games, for improving over the course of a season, and because of that, they get to jump into a competitive environment on their home floor and play for something. I've been long-standing in saying that I'd rather lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament than win the NIT. Matt McMahon has said multiple times this week, I did not come to LSU to play in the NIT. So I think we're all on the same page here. I don't think this is some sort of building block because you can't really use that term in college basketball. Way too much volatility in roster turnover to truly believe that much of anything is a building block. And if LSU plays this game and loses, or plays one more and loses, and you're talking about 3 more practices and 80 more minutes of basketball, I just don't know how much you've built toward there. I think you've rewarded the guys on this team. Hey, nice job winning 9 league games. You get to go continue to play. And you might be able to cut down the nets at the end of this thing in the NIT. That's what I think this is. And so you get an opportunity tonight to play the defending NIT champions in North Texas. They won it last year. And it's a rematch of a game that we saw back in November. I want to talk a little bit about North Texas before I talk about LSU. This is a North Texas team that very, very, very much has an identity. Matthew Bruni, who went to North Texas, who we have on a couple times, once a week now from the folks over there at On 3, he went to North Texas. He kind of gave us a thumbnail on the Mean Green yesterday. And everything he said, not surprisingly, is very much true. There is absolutely an identity in this North Texas program. It is pace, which is slow. It is defense, which forces turnovers. And it is three-point shooting. That is what they do very, very well. They are number 57 in the country in defensive efficiency. That is a very strong number. They force people over. Turn people over in terms of opponent turnover per possession. They're in the top 50 at 48th in the country. That's been a huge bugaboo for LSU, turning the basketball over. Cannot do it. But this is going to be a game that's played slowly. There are 362 teams in college basketball. North Texas, in terms of possessions per game, 356th. There are 6 teams that play slower than North Texas. They're just not going to let you run up and down. They're going to get you in the half court. When they're on offense, they're going to move the basketball. They're going to get into high ball screens. They're going to be patient, and they're going to shoot threes. And they make a lot of threes. They are number 14 in the country in three-point percentage. Not really indicative when you go to three-pointers per game because they play so few possessions. But you're talking about making them, shooting percentage from three, 14th in the country. And it's everybody in the backcourt. Jason Edwards leads them in scoring. He's a 35% three-point shooter, averages 19 a game. Reuben Jones doesn't shoot a ton of them at 6'9", but he's 40%. Aaron Scott, who's a wing for him, 39%. CJ Nolan, guard for him, coming off the bench, starts some, 35%. John Buggs, 47% from three. And he's second on the team in attempts. That is lights out. So it's not like one guy you got to stop. There's 4 or 5 guys they're going to put out there that shoot 35 to 40%. That's real, real good. 47% in that case. And so when you look at the percentage of their points that come from threes, they're 47th in the country. Anything you do in the top 50 is significant. So for LSU, you know the drill with North Texas. You're going to have to sit down and play defense in man-to-man principles for the whole shot clock. You can't play zone. They shoot it too well. And you can't get greedy because North Texas knows what they're doing on offense. They're going to play slow. They're going to drag you into the mud. When you fall asleep, they're going to shoot a three. And then defensively, North Texas is very, very strong, and they will turn you over. LSU can't do that. I'm perfectly fine with LSU running off North Texas misses. Get the tempo going when you can. When you've got the ball, go. But just know that if you don't get stops, that you're going to be playing pretty slow because they're going to score pretty slow and they're going to slow you down defensively. That's just the case with this North Texas team. Now, LSU and North Texas did play in Charleston, as we mentioned, and the final score of that game was 66-62. That's what North Texas wants to do. And North Texas that day shot it pretty good. They were 12 of 32 from three, which is not great. It's below their season average, but you still made 12 threes. And in the second half, North Texas was 8 of 20 for 40% from three-point range. Now for LSU, you've got a little different look than you did then. In that game, Trey Hannibal scored 4 points in 12 minutes. He's clearly going to be more impactful in this game than he was in that one. Hunter Dean played 5 minutes. He will play more than he did. Carlos Stewart started that game, and he will not be playing in this game. Tyrell Ward came off the bench and only played 20 minutes, missed his 2 threes. You hope he's more impactful. But Will Baker had a big game in that game. He had 16 points in the game and an assist, had 6 rebounds, and did all that damage from inside the arc. And that's because this is not a North Texas team that's got very good size. You look at what they'll probably start. Reuben Jones, 6'5", Jason Edwards, 6 feet, Aaron Scott, 6'7", CJ Nolan, 6'5". That's their top 5 scorers, top 4 scorers. They're all under 6'7". Robert Allen is 6'9", and Mule Sissoko, it's tough to say, is 6'9" and 250 pounds, but they don't have anybody that's going to play that's over 6'9". Baker is a 7-footer. I think LSU will throw the ball down in the post and try to make North Texas guard. Now, what did we talk about with Will Baker when LSU went to Arkansas? I said, I hate this matchup. Trevin Brazile is 6'11". He's a jumping jack. He's got long arms. Like, that matchup stinks for Will Baker, and it did. He was a non-factor in that game. I don't love Will Baker against Mississippi State with Tolu Smith. Tonight, I do like Will Baker. I like Will Baker against a smaller team because we know that Will Baker's not going to play up above the rim and go up over people. He's a technician that needs to be taller than the guy he's going against, and then he can use his frame and his skill level with his hands to score some points. That's going to be big for LSU. And then the point that I've gone to for the last 4 weeks. What's Hannibal's stat line? He's handling the ball. I need him to be 5, 6 assists, 7 assists, 1, 2, 3 turnovers. You can't flip those. I can't have 3 assists and 7 turnovers because you know you're not going to get him going 4 of 6 from 3. So that's it for LSU offensively. Hannibal, control the pace. Go fast when you need to go fast. Slow it down when they make you slow it down. Get it in the post to Will Baker. And then don't have some sort of statistical anomaly like Jordan Wright going 1 for 14 or Tyrell Ward going 0 of 7 from 3. Just keep it within the buoys there like you normally do, and you'll be fine. But the North Texas wins a lot of basketball games because they know what they want to do, and it's really not a lot of fun for the other team. It's not fun to take all of the shot clock on your offensive possession because they've packed their defense in. They don't allow a lot of straight line drives. They force you to kick it out and shoot some threes, and they play really strong defense. It's not fun to sit for the entire shot clock and play man-to-man defense and deal with ball screens and deal with rotations. Like, that's not fun. But if you don't do it, they will lull you to sleep, and they'll hit threes on you. Now, they're far from an unstoppable force here. It's a North Texas team that's 18-14 on the season. In conference play was 10-8. Okay, so I think I painted them as some sort of, juggernaut here. They didn't make the NCAA tournament, but they are a good and well-coached basketball team with an identity, and it's not a fun one to play against. So for LSU, understand the assignment. Have everybody play up to their level. I don't expect some sort of raucous crowd in there. You're going to lose, 800 to 1,000 people who would have probably been there tonight that are going to be at the box. That's probably being conservative. So I anticipate a half capacity crowd, but LSU can win the game. And I've had some real luck and it is luck in terms of handicapping LSU games and saying what I think is going to happen. And tonight, inside the PMAC, I'll take LSU to win by about 6 points over North Texas, beat them by 4 in Charleston. I like the matchup with Will Baker. I think that's a very advantageous matchup. And then I think LSU just needs to stop turning the ball over, and they'll be just fine. LSU's a more skilled offensive team, especially around the rim, than North Texas. North Texas is a good shooting team, but I think LSU's got some guys that could give them some trouble. So give me Will Baker, and even Derek Fountain and Jalen Reed having a nice game in this one. I think LSU wins it by about 6 to advance in the National Invitation Tournament, the NIT. All right, we'll take a timeout, step aside. We got Sharie Ishack coming up in 15 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Pluckers here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux Electric. Love telling you about my friends over at Boudreaux Electric. Neil and Melissa have been running the show over there for 40 years. They're a certified Generac generator dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're just in the business of giving you peace of mind. That you know that, look, you leave for spring break with the family, you leave for summer vacation with the family, and maybe a storm blows through. You're not going to return to a house that's 98 degrees with a ruined fridge. Not the case. You're going to come back to an air-conditioned home that's got a fridge running, and everything will be like nothing ever happened because your Generac generator was ready to spring into action and did so. Just peace of mind that comes with it. Every single Generac generator that you buy from Boudreaux Electric is going to come with a warranty. 7 years, 10 years, depends on the type of generator that you buy. But you will get a warranty for that Generac generator. Give yourself the peace of mind. Contact the folks at Boudreaux Electric today. It's Boudreaux Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Shay Dixon joins us, talk recruiting, the latest on NFL free agency. We're getting you set for LSU North Texas in the NIT, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The field is set for the 2024 NCAA men's basketball tournament. Tune in for first round coverage Thursday night at 6 and Friday night at 6. Then catch second round coverage starting Saturday at noon and Sunday at 11 a.m. right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
All right, some news from the Atlantic Coast Conference. And generally speaking, when things come out about the ACC, it's not glowingly positive, and this certainly is not. Is that Clemson became the second school to sue the ACC in state court in an effort to get out of the ridiculous exit fees and grant of rights that runs another 12 years, which is just amazing that the ACC locked itself in to a grant of rights deal that long. So the lawsuit was filed in Pickens County, South Carolina on Tuesday, today. And it's very, very similar to the one that Florida State filed in Tallahassee back before the end of the year. Both of them are looking to change the way the grant of rights deal works. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend to tell you that I understand the legal ramifications of the grant of rights agreement, how ironclad it is, what it's going to take to get out of it, or what the result would be if they did get out of it. I'm just here to tell you that it feels like, from very, very far away, just looking into the ACC's world, when you've got the most powerful brands in your conference openly, publicly, and legally revolting against you, it's not going to end well. Like, maybe the ACC wins this fight and Florida State and Clemson can't get out. But all that is just delaying the inevitable death of the league, because there's no way that 12 years from now they're going to re-up. Now, how far behind would Florida State and Clemson and North Carolina and Virginia fall behind everyone in the Big Ten and everyone in the SEC? I'm not sure. I can't. I'm not an economist. I can't predict the future. I don't know what the 12 years means. No one's ever put me in charge of balancing the budget for a collegiate athletic program, and they won't. But this is going to end. And there are a lot of different motivations at play. I think there are probably plenty of folks in Winston-Salem, North Carolina at Wake Forest, or at Boston College, or at Georgia Tech, who were looking at Washington State and Oregon State and going, uh-oh, that can't happen. Because effectively, Washington State and Oregon State they're out of the Power Five, and I can make the argument that you're pushing being, well, you're out of relevance. I don't want to say you're going to be out of Division I, but it's closer than you might think, because everybody left town. And so, look, Clemson doesn't have to worry about this. Florida State doesn't have to worry about this. North Carolina does not have to worry about this. Virginia does not have to worry about this. Those schools will be picked up by the SEC or ACC or whatever this thing becomes. But some of the other ones that may be a little smaller, a little bit underfunded, and maybe not as hyper-focused on academics, on athletics, I beg your pardon, like, trouble. And so you've got a dynamic where the top of the league is kicking and screaming, trying to get out. The bottom of the league doesn't really know where it fits in. It liked its spot in the league. And then you've got the league office that's just trying to herd all the cats and keep them locked in a closet. That's not going to work. They're going to get out of the closet. The question is when, and how quickly can we get all this together once it happens. And I don't sit here to try to figure this out. I'm not bright enough, or I don't have a detailed enough understanding of the inner workings of what happens when a league fractures like this. I don't know. It doesn't detract at all or take away at all from my eventual theory that we're going to get down to a group of about 40 schools, and that'll be it, competing for championships at a certain level, in football at least. And I don't know where Duke falls in that. I don't know where Syracuse falls in that. I know where Florida State falls. They figure it out and they get where they need to be. The same thing's going to go for Clemson. But if they're going to have to fall 20, 30, 40, 60, 80, $100 million over time, all these other schools in terms of the grant of rights payouts that they're getting, that's a big, big, big hole to climb out of. I know we don't like to talk about money. It drives people nuts to talk about college athletes getting paid and coaching buyouts and all that kind of stuff. I think most of us like just, hey, put the uniforms on and go play. That's the part we like. But none of that happens if we can't figure everything out on this side. The ACC can't survive this. When your main institutions are suing the league, it's over. Like if the league got sued because they went to a revenue sharing agreement that gave the power brands a lot and the non-power brands very little, well, if the bottom of the league's complaining, like, who cares? Sit down and know your place. When the top of the league revolts, it's over. I don't care who the commissioner of the ACC is. Unless you can organize a grant of rights agreement with ESPN or Fox or Amazon or whoever, that pays very close to what the SEC and Big Ten are making, Florida State and Clemson aren't having it. They know their worth, and it's far closer to what South Carolina and Indiana and Purdue and Minnesota and Ole Miss are making than what they're currently making in the ACC's grant of right agreements. And you can't have a situation where the top end of your league is furious. So the only mild take that I can give you on this situation, as for those that are jumping in late, Clemson sued the ACC, and that piggybacks on Florida State's suit that was filed in December. The only take is, it feels to me like the big swing here is going to be when the ACC dissolves. When Florida State and Clemson and Virginia and North Carolina and whoever else they need to take, I don't know if North Carolina and Duke and NC State are a package deal. I don't know how any of that works with Wake Forest. I mean, obviously Wake and Duke are private schools, so I don't know. But when that happens and they find a landing spot, whether it's the SEC or the Big Ten, and there'll have to be a discussion that Greg Sankey's going to have, if he's still around, with Florida and South Carolina, and, if Louisville wants to come with Kentucky, who've said for years, we're keeping those ACC folks out of here, Georgia with Georgia Tech, we're differentiating ourselves. But eventually Greg Sankey's going to have to look at this and go, well, do I want to let those teams just go to the Big Ten, or do I want to keep up? And at that point, you start getting really, really close to that NFC, AFC, NFL model with the Big Ten and the SEC. I don't know what the future holds for Oklahoma State, TCU, and Texas Tech and Baylor. I don't know. I don't know what's up with Kansas and Cincinnati and Houston. Right now, they're being looped in all this college football playoff talk, and I vehemently disagree with that. But it feels like the big shoe to drop is when the ACC ceases to exist. And that feels like it's an inevitability when you've got the top of your league going, we got to get out of here now. Not a great look. But again, as I always conclude these conversations that I have, it's like, hey, those of us that wear purple and gold down here in South Louisiana, we don't really have to worry about it. She's got a pretty safe spot here in the Southeastern Conference. Those in the ACC, nervous times. Just don't want to be Oregon State and Washington State, whose athletic programs just went in the toilet when everybody left them. All right, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. We'll come back with Sharie Ishack talking Saints and Pels next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Platinum Window Tint. Check them out online, PlatinumWindowTintLLC.com. I never knew anything about window tinting until the gang from Platinum Window Tint came over and chatted with us before we started this partnership. Let me just tell you this. They know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. And if all you know is, hey, my house is hot, my energy bills are really high, got a place of work, my furniture's faded, carpet's faded, floors are faded because the sun's beating down on them, you can help mitigate that with the folks over at Platinum Window Tint. We know those monster energy bills are coming. They're just a couple of months away. In some cases, a 40% difference can be made depending on how much glass exposure and sun exposure you've got. Can be made if Platinum Window Tint comes over and puts the window tints on your windows. Find them online, PlatinumWindowTintLLC.com. Give them a call. Request a quote right there online, PlatinumWindowTintLLC.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
It's the details that make the difference between good enough and simply the best. At Skag Power Equipment, the difference is in designing lawnmowers with your convenience and comfort in mind. At Skag, we believe that quality and substance matter, and that you'll appreciate the attention to detail and craftsmanship we put into every single product. Thick steel and heavy-duty components provide you with unmatched reliability and performance. Skag, simply the best.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
Is set for the 2024 NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament. Tune in for first-round coverage Thursday night at 6 and Friday night at 6. Then catch second-round coverage starting Saturday at noon and Sunday morning at 11, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Moving right along here, Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. Check us out tonight, Plucker's Sports Trivia, 8:30. Plucker's brings you our Tuesday shows each and every week. Sharie Ishack, part of those shows each and every week. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharie, how are you?
Well, interesting last 15 minutes. Other than that, doing well.
Yeah, I just got made aware of some, I'm assuming you're talking about Chase Young and some sort of neck issue. Can you fill us in on what you know? Because I've been on the air since this broke.
Well, I mean, I just read Adam Schefter this week. He's had a neck procedure that's likely keep him out into training camp. But the teams knew about it that were interested in signing him, and the Saints are one of those teams fine with it. So I guess maybe that's why the Saints were able to land him, because maybe some of the other teams bowed out and said, "Oh, it's a neck injury. How serious could it be? How long is it going to be?" Apparently, he suffered the injury in the first preseason game last year, and he just played through it.
Well, I mean, I think maybe one piece, maybe he's not going to be the same player after neck surgery, and you've got a 1-year, $13 million contract for a guy who can't play a lot. Maybe he's going to be just fine after neck surgery, and now you've got a really good pass rusher who's healthy, and you're only paying him for $13 million for 1 year. I guess we just don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, I don't he had that knee injury his second year that really cost him his season there. He was effective last year in his first year. Man, it's iffy. You don't know. You really don't know. I mean, in today's technology, when it comes to surgeries, guys seem to bounce back a little. But a neck injury, I don't know, man. It's kind of a dicey situation, but probably why he didn't have that big of a market, and the Saints were able to land him. But if you get him off that surgery and he's pretty good, you get a guy who gets you 7.5 sacks like he did last year, you're probably happy with it. And he's probably happy with it because he's going to get paid from someone else. But the talent is there. The talent is there, and they needed someone to be opposite of Cam or even Carl or someone. They just needed someone. When you look at him being like pretty much second to last in pass rush wins last year. So they needed to fix that situation, and maybe, if he's healthy, he should be healthy in 5 months, that he should be ready to go.
So let's just speak as if Chase Young's going to be healthy. Let's just speak to it in that way. How does that rotation work with Granderson, with Cam Jordan, and then whether or not you think Isaiah Foskey factors in at all?
Well, let's see, you line up Chase and Cam on the outside, then you got to deal with Brzee on the inside. You put Tano in the inside. You got Carl there. You can, you rush him. I mean, you have the names, you have the players. It's just, can they actually do it? I mean, we're just talking about a bunch of names on paper now. It sounds great, but can they be great? And that's, that's what your hope is. That's what the Saints' hope is. And, and I assume Todd Grantham is probably excited to have all these players with Chase Young on the field. And, I think it's going to be good. I mean, it can only go up from second to last. It can only go up. When you're bottom 5th in the NFL in sacks, you can only go up from there. They had 34 sacks last year. I feel like that they could be in the mid-40s this coming season.
Over-under for Cam Jordan sacks next season, 4.5.
I'm going to go up because I'm going to go over that because he was playing with a bad ankle for most of the season. And, yeah, he's entering his 14th season in the NFL. I still think he's got a little bit left in the tank. I think he can get to 6.5 this year. I think he can triple what he did this year. The 2 is as low as he's had since his rookie year, so I'll put him at 6.5 if healthy.
So as far as this affects the Saints draft, specifically their first-round pick, do you think that this means that they will not take an edge rusher, or is that still on the table?
Look, Hon, I don't care what anyone says. They still need to take an edge rusher, whether if it's the first pick or the second pick. That does not solve the entire issue. One person does not fix the entire issue moving forward. It's great to have Chase Young when healthy, hopefully fully healthy, but they still have to look at the big picture after, the 2024 season, because this is just a one-year rental. They got to find a way to make sure it looks good moving forward. The draft is deep. They got some guys out there. To me, I wouldn't mind drafting someone at 14. I understand they got to figure out their left tackle situation, but it's also the draft is also deep in the tackle area. So if Leatu Latu is there, I'd probably take him. Another guy with a neck injury history, but he played the last 2 seasons at UCLA, and he was very successful and very good at getting to the quarterback. I'm not opposed to bringing in a defensive end edge rusher at number 14. So look, if it's me, I would go defensive end, offensive tackle with my first 2 picks, or if one of those star receivers are sitting there, I wouldn't mind doing that.
What do you think the left tackle is going to look like in this season? Do you think it's going to be a rookie?
Oh boy, I mean, let's just say Ramczak's healthy. He's at right tackle. I just don't know if Trevor Penning is going to play. So it's probably going to have to be a rookie unless they sign someone in the free agency market. But I think I just saw that Trent Williams signed with the Bengals. So that's one guy off the Trent Brown. One of the guys, Trent, signed with the Bengals. So yeah, unless there's somebody out there that's kicking the tires on an old veteran, you might be right. Could be the first round pick or the second round pick playing left tackle, unless they find a veteran.
Let's just circle all the way back, because now that I've had a little bit of chance to digest this, I mean, what's your concern level with this Chase Young information? To me, as I think about it, if the Saints knew about it and they clearly had their medical staff do a checkup on it, I feel like they think that he's going to be ready to go for week 1.
Well, I mean, the medical staff isn't going to mess over the organization and say, yeah, hey, you know what? We don't like our organization. Let's just tell them they're going to be fine and just say if they sign him. Great, man. Just kick us some money from this. No, man, I think they knew. I mean, I think every team knows that. I think some of the teams bowed out. I mean, look, what is it, March 19th right now?
Yeah.
If he has the surgery, if he has it today or tomorrow or next week, let's just say 4 months. That'll put you right at the start of training camp, and I'm assuming that, like, he misses, like, a couple weeks. Maybe he's back by the end of training camp, and he gets the last 2 weeks. Maybe he's back before training camp starts. I don't know, but they knew. So the key thing is that they knew that they were going to inherit the situation where he's going to have this procedure, and that's key. At least they weren't fooled about it, and they took the physical. He took the physical, and they went through everything to check him out.
Sharie Ishack's our guest, WDSU down in New Orleans, talking all things Saints and Pels. Pelicans dropped that one to Cleveland in pretty convincing fashion back last Wednesday, but followed that up with a couple of wins over the Clippers and Portland. That means they've won 6 out of 7 before this long road trip they're about to embark on here. How are you feeling about them?
So, 15 games left, hon. I said they would have to go 8-7 to possibly be. If they go 8-7, 9-6, there's a good chance they could be the 4 seed, at worst 5 seed. Anything below that, I think the lowest they can go is 7-8. Then they would get them the 6 seed. You don't want to go too many games below 7 and 8. But right now I like the way they're playing. This is when they're going to get tested here. I mean, yes, these 2 games against Orlando and Miami, and after this game tonight, is going to be crucial. But when they come back home, those 6 home games, go take a look at it. None of those games are going to be easy.
Nope.
And you get the Bucks, Celtics, Thunder, Magic in there. I mean, those aren't easy games. They're going to be dealing with some real contenders that are trying to win the championship. So, this is good. This is good for the Pelicans. This is exactly the type of game you need to play before the playoffs, just to see a barometer, just to see where you are in terms of your playoff contender mentality, to see where you are if you can compete with these teams, if you're going to be taken as a serious team for the playoffs.
Do you feel any differently about Zion Williamson today than you did at Halloween?
Yes, absolutely. Completely different. Man, look, he deserves all the praise now. Got a lot of criticism for years, deserves the praise on top of praise, taking care of himself. He's bought in, loves New Orleans a lot, buying into the city, his teammates, and he's playing well, man. There's times when he's not taking care of the ball, but he is hustling. He is hustling on defense. That's where his game has grown a lot more. He's taking an initiative and playing much better defense, and I think that's why his game has taken off offensively, is because of what he's done on the defensive end of the thing. And then, his hustle is really showing, huh? All the hustle plays are showing for him. The blocks, point Zion, passing the ball in general. I mean, everyone's talking about his scoring, the 34 points he scores sometimes. It's just, I think it's the other stuff. Some of the stuff we don't talk about, they don't show up on stat sheets that's making him a much better player.
Would you take a 50-50 split on this road trip? It's at Brooklyn tonight, then at Orlando, then at Miami, then up to Detroit on Sunday. That's the 4. Is 2-2 okay, or do they need to do better than that?
No. 2-2 is expected. 3-1 is what they need to do. 3-1 is what they need to do. And honestly, I would hope, and I think that they would want that 3rd win to be against Miami after the fight that happened here.
We shall see. They'll start it tonight against Brooklyn. It'll be a 6:30 tip off up there in New York. Sharie, we appreciate the time. Thanks, man.
Always something, hon. It's always something.
There's always something. Sharie Ishack, WDSU. That was news. Jordan told me right there in the break that the Chase Young neck situation is going to have to be dealt with. Jordan, we can open your mic. I mean, are you concerned about Chase Young at this point?
Am I concerned?
Yeah.
Am I concerned?
Yes.
I'm very concerned.
Okay.
I'm
the
honestly,
Saints knew.
Well, I'm actually just speechless, and I'm usually a person that's never speechless, but I just cannot believe that we basically just paid for his surgery. We gave him $13 million to get this surgery based. That's how I'm looking at it.
That is pessimistic. I will say that is pessimistic.
I have nothing to be happy about to give a better like. I can't be the glass is half empty or half full. It's half empty to me right now.
I think the Saints knew, and that's the reason it's a 1-year deal. It's just if you had just signed him to a 6-year, $125 million deal, like that'd be one thing. It's 1 year, $13 million. I think the Saints knew it. That's probably why they got the discount, and I'll react viscerally when training camp comes around and he's not there.
Well, this is the last thing I got to say. So at this point, we still don't have an answer for the pass rusher because if he's still not able to go for training camp, you're going Gradison and Cam Jordan, who had 2 sacks last year.
Yep.
Isaiah Foskey, who I have no clue what to expect from him. I mean,
not very much.
He was the all-time leader in sacks at Notre Dame, but was a no-show last year. I mean, Willie Gay's cool. That's cool, but we rarely run 3 linebackers, so it's really just Pete Warner. I mean, they're going to compete for that spot in DeMario. You can't trade Lattimore no more. That's over and done. Yeah, that's over and done. I don't know, man. I'm hurt. I'm hurt.
We'll see. It's kind of been that way for the Saints the last 3 or 4 years. So the news, I ran and raved how awesome I love the Chase Young signing at the beginning of the show. Now all of a sudden there's some more information that he's got a neck issue that's going to have to be dealt with surgery, and we'll see if he's back in time for training camp. All right, I put a poll up on my Twitter feed. A bigger game tonight, the NIT round 1 against North Texas, or baseball midweek against Louisiana Tech. Give you the results of that when we come back, and we'll play some Take It or Leave It and get on down the road. It is a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet now live in Louisiana is the official sportsbook of ESPN. ESPN Bet's the only place to find daily exclusives and offers with your favorite ESPN personalities and shows. Sign up today. New users get $100 in bonus bets for making any sportsbook bet. Find all your favorite markets and bets like in-game wagering, cross-sport parlays, teasers, and all the props you can handle. That's ESPN Bet. You can download today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. In partnership with the Bears, Jake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
It's the details that make the difference between good enough and simply the best. At Skag Power Equipment, the difference is in designing lawnmowers with your convenience and comfort in mind. At Skag, we believe that quality and substance matter, and that you'll appreciate the attention to detail and craftsmanship we put into every single product. Thick steel and heavy-duty components provide you with unmatched reliability and performance.
For Wednesday's OTB, we'll recap LSU baseball versus Louisiana Tech at the box. How did LSU men's basketball do in the NIT tournament versus UNT? And Matt Flynn will join us for an hour of flustering. Join us from 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Shout out to the folks over at Pluckers bringing you our Tuesday shows. Breggie's Creole Crush, the new sauce over there at both Pluckers locations. Nicholson just south of campus, Bluebonnet in front of the Mall of Louisiana. We'll have sports trivia tonight at 8:30. So going to be a really fun night. We'll have the conclusion of LSU's NIT game right before that, and LSU and Tech will be on the baseball field. We'll be watching it, having some delicious food. If you go to the NIT game tonight and it ends at like 8:15, just zip on down Nicholson. Come see us at Sports Trivia. Grab something awesome to eat, something cold to drink, and win some gift cards. It's going to be a good time there at Pluckers on Nicholson tonight. Always have you out of there by about 10 o'clock on Tuesdays. I started a poll on my Twitter feed. A bigger game tonight. Was it LSU and North Texas in the NIT or LSU and Louisiana Tech in midweek baseball? Got about 140 votes in this one. And midweek baseball against Tech gets the nod at 53% to 47%. Your thoughts on that, Beck?
Well, it doesn't really make – I mean, I guess it shouldn't be that surprising because I think there's probably more people that care about the baseball team at this point, although midweek games usually have pretty much no bearing on the actual outcome of the season.
Sure, but an NIT game literally has no impact on your ability to make the NCAA tournament. This one theoretically could impact your ability to win a championship. So I think that's where – if you really drill it down to the bottom, like that's where it's coming from. If you made me watch one, I think I might watch the basketball team, knowing that it could be the last game. I said this last year when they were 2 in a million in conference play. Like, I just like watching LSU play basketball. I like when my team's out there playing a sport that I really like to watch. So this one, while the stakes for a championship are probably actually higher with LSU and Louisiana Tech if we start getting down to RPI and trying to get strength of schedule and all that kind of stuff.
The basketball team could be the NIT champions.
They could be the NIT champions. North Texas is the defending NIT
Yeah, they got to take on the team, take down the crown.
They're defending champions all over the campus. We got the LSU baseball team defending a national championship. They're playing tonight. We got the North Texas Mean Green defending an NIT championship and hosting. I think LSU's baseball team is going to have to play really well tonight. Tech is good. LSU's pitching is a little shell-shocked at this point. And you're not going to see your aces out there. Obviously, I think this is a game that LSU's going to probably have to score 7, 8, 9 runs to win tonight. We'll see if they can get it done. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Netflix just announced a sequel to their quarterback series they did last year. This season will be Receivers, and it's not called Wide Receivers because George Kittle will be in it. So there's a tight end in there. Also, mostly other wide receivers with Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Those things, getting a peek behind the curtain. Getting a peek behind the curtain is generally pretty cool. I know Kittle's a crazy personality.
Yeah, he is. Interesting.
I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a good personality as well. Jets, I love for what he did at LSU. He's been incredible. I don't know if he's the most dynamic personality I've ever seen, but he's
really good.
So he's interesting there. So yeah, I'll take it. I love those. I'm all about like nonfiction and documentaries and that kind of stuff.
Have you watched the new Full Swing? I haven't even watched the new season yet.
I haven't had time.
I haven't either.
We're still unpacking boxes, and you got baseball and basketball plus a 2-year-old running around. And when me and the wife do have some time to watch TV, we're churning through Succession. We're in it's 4 seasons, and we're right at the end of season 3.
Oh wow!
So we've got like 10 or 11 episodes to go. So that's taking up the free time. Now, I'll get the full swing eventually.
We'll both have to watch it and give our reviews on it. But last one here, LeBron James and JJ Redick will start a basketball podcast together. Take it or leave it.
I will take it for the content. I think that's great. Those are two guys who combined will have played almost 40 years in the NBA when it's all said and done. And I think J.J. Redick is awesome on TV.
Yeah, he's really good.
Obviously a huge personality. It's not for me. I'm just not an inside the NBA kind of guy. But I think it'll be really quality stuff for those that do love the NBA, which is obviously a huge faction of people. So I'm in. I think that's a great podcast idea. I just don't know if I've got time I've only got so much bandwidth here.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the J.J. Redick LeBron James podcast is going to make it make it in. So that'll do it here for us on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Gave you my picks. I like LSU to beat North Texas by about 6 today. I think LSU may have their hands full in baseball tonight. Let's hope that the Tigers play well. Either way, we're talking about both of them on tomorrow's show. If you missed today's show, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, wherever you find your sound. Opened with the Chase Young signing before we knew he had to have neck surgery. I previewed LSU and Louisiana Tech at 1:15. Glenn West with us in hour number 1. I previewed North Texas in hour number 2. And we chatted with Sharie Ishack from WDSU as we do each and every Tuesday. No matter what you're doing tonight, have a great time and be safe with it. We're back same time, same place tomorrow. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. Have a great Tuesday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.